It's the SKOR North Twins Show. Baseball.
All right, a SKOR North Twins Show, a full edition here. There were some extra innings episodes I was able to get after from Target Field this last weekend. Hit that like button and subscribe button before the SKOR North Twins Show turns into the St. Paul Saints show on this podcast feed. That might be happening sooner rather than later. I promised minor league updates in this season's worth of the SKOR North Twins Show, and you will get those. In fact, likely going to St. Paul tomorrow to watch Zebby Matthews shove, most likely for the Saints. That'll be exciting, plus other updates on some Twins prospects. But I did an extra innings episode because I was there both games yesterday, on Saturday and Sunday, and I watched a debacle. I watched team blow a 6-run lead, just chip away. 95% chance to win that game, according to ESPN Analytics, and eventually it went down the crapper. Let me give you the state of the Twins here before I give the floor to Mackie and Judd. I've said my frustrations over the last couple extra innings episodes. You guys obviously have a lot of hashtag takes. So here is your state of the Twins. They're 3-6 on the season. And by the way, 3-6 looks so much worse than 4-5. I know that's an astute observation, but 3-6 looks so much worse than 4-5.
I have a take on 3-6.
Okay.
But it actually might fall into the favorite current Twins thing, which will probably not be leading with the tone of what happened yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. So through the first 9 games, the Twins they're up to 17th in runs scored, which actually is, I think, kind of remarkable considering their 0-4 start. They've now gone up to 17th. They got that going for them. And they're 7th in ERA, but they're 3-6 on the season. And due to large part because their starting pitching has one quality start in 9 games. Their playoff chances are now down to 27%. That loss yesterday, Baseball Reference shows one-day change. That one loss, granted it's Game 9 of 162, dropped the Twins' playoff odds by 4.5% just in that one loss. So they're now at 27% chance to make the playoffs, according to Baseball Reference. Just for some context, the Tigers are at 78%. The Royals, who the Twins open a 4-game series with, are at 62%. The Guards at 31%. So the Twins now 4th place in the Central and 27% chance to make the playoffs. Twins vibe check. I know Judd was at St. Paul and watching the Wild yesterday. Yeah. Paddock running all around, getting happy hours with Kyle and Dane. What is the vibe check for this Twins team?
Go ahead, Phil.
You want me to lead this off here?
Yeah.
All right. I'll be the Matt Wallner here. So I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction with this vibe check. I want to reference Aaron Gleeman's tweet that I think we kicked it around in our text thread this weekend. Yeah. But he has the Twins' attendance figures for the first 3 home games. This is a small sample size. It's only 3 games. A little cold outside. Well, it's always pretty cold outside, with the exception of like the first ever homestand in Target Field history. It's pretty much always kind of crappy cold weather. Last week in March, first week in April. Mm-hmm. So they drew 36,783 for the first game, which is like 4,000 shy of a sellout. So it's no longer guaranteed that you are going to sell out the home opener in recent years. But they did put 36,000 at least tickets sold. Okay. Opening day, let's put that aside. The pomp and circumstance, the SKOR North Twins Show driving tens of thousands of people to downtown Minneapolis at Kieran's last Thursday is great, right?
That. Yeah.
Once the shine of opening day wears off, what is the vibe among the fan base? And my Twins vibe check is desolate right now at Target Field and among the fan base.
Great word for the show.
Desolates or desolate, depending on the form of word you want to choose.
It's desolate.
The second game was 16,000 tickets sold. And by the way, the actual head count in the stadium, less than this. The third game on Sunday, 14,000 tickets sold yesterday.
On a chilly but gorgeous day, by the way.
Oh, it was beautiful outside yesterday.
That was a day where you could go to the park and not say, I wonder if it's going to rain on me.
As Gleeman notes in his tweet here, 14,638 is lower than all but 6 games last season. The season just started. Like, this is usually where you get... So I was curious, just kind of going back, where does that fall Is that normal? Well, they had some like Saturday, Sunday weekend games where you're getting 25. I think the second game of the year last year was like well over 25,000 fans, whatever it was. So if you take out, I'm going to take out 2020, 21, and 22, which are just awfully attended seasons because you're either in the pandemic.
Right. Yeah.
And even in 2022, like the restrictions were lifted, but a lot of people were still kind of like, I don't want to go to a building with 20,000 people.
Right.
So I'm going to take out the worst attended seasons of 2020, 21, and 22 and call them pandemic years. The Twins' worst target field attendance season, which was last year, they averaged 24,000 fans per game. Well, if you take away opening day here, you're sitting about 10,000 fewer fans per game on weekend days, Saturday and Sunday. It's small sample size, but to start the season. The Colorado Rockies, by the way, who've had 2 winning seasons in 15 years, averaged 30% more fans than the Twins last year for the full season. So all I'm saying is, like, fans are speaking very loudly early here for those Saturday and Sunday attendance figures with a playoff rival that you face. You faced this team twice in the playoffs now in the last, 5 years. There's some exciting players. It's not like the White Sox coming to town. It wasn't snowing. It was sunny. So I guess I raise a flag for those attendance numbers, and it's reflective of what we've talked about throughout the entire last 18 months, that you had the goodwill in your hands, and a combination of about 5 different factors. This is where it sits after the first homestand.
And wouldn't you love to see, and of course it's private, so we won't, what the subscriptions to Twins TV are at.
I don't think we're going to get the press release on that.
I'd love to see that. But no, so 2 thoughts. First of all, for how nice it was on Sunday, that's a brutal crowd. That's an embarrassingly bad crowd. It also speaks to the fact that there must be no, to go with an old school term, walk-up sales. Because, let's say there's 10,000 season tickets left now? 9,000, 11,000, I'm not sure. But my guess is the majority of that crowd is built on the season ticket number. So people aren't going, people don't care, and no one should be surprised. They are getting exactly what the fan base thinks, and I sort of agree with them, they deserve, right? They're getting exactly, they ended the season horribly. They basically, I'm sorry, but, Ty France does not excite the masses. Harrison Bader, who I actually like as a player, does not excite fans. And the term that I would use for the vibes is disturbing as well. Because if we go back 1 year, let's do that. Time machine now. Let's go back through 9. Let's go back.
Got you covered.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. We are now sitting on the morning of April 10th, 2024. And the Twins are 3-6. The Twins got off to a 3-6 start that eventually went to 6-9. By the end of the month, 7-12. They rebound, right? Oh my God, here they come. And then they collapse. So I would say this, the Twins are also giving their fan base nothing to be excited about again. And the reality is this, it is disturbing. If your trend is we get off to bad starts, we don't play well in April. Well, that's a problem right there. So I just think that it is a disturbing vibe because fans are sort of being emboldened in their approach, and the Twins are giving them no reason to be optimistic, including yesterday where Dex, as you said, you've got a 6-run lead. And I'm sorry, this is not the old Astros. This is not they are that good. They're a nice club, but I don't think they're great by any means.
Altuve and left is an interesting.
Well, and the last 2 games, their starting pitching is a long way from what the starting pitching was a couple years back in Houston. Yeah. So I think it's disturbing that we're going through sort of the same thing again with a team that desperately needs a good start or needed a good start.
Yeah, you cannot chase the starter in the second inning, put up 7 runs by the 4th, 5th, and lose a game. Yeah. You cannot have that happen. And I know there was some questions about the process of, they went from Duran into Jax. They've done that before. Griffin Jax is going to close games. Like, it's going to happen. If you want to get upset about that decision, I get it. Here's my vibe check. My vibes they're disappointing. They're incredibly disappointing. They've only won 3 games. We've laid out what all the problems they've had off the field and that fans are pissed about, which are justified. That is what it is. But my least favorite thing is we talked about their identity has to be their pitching, and they have one quality start in the first 9 games. And when your bullpen in the last 2 games throws, I calculated this, 169 pitches over 2 days, eventually someone's going to get tagged. And you can, and yes, it is supposed to be the best bullpen in baseball. I expect Griffin Jax to close out a game, even when he has to get guys out like Pena and Alvarez, who are some of the better hitters in the game. Regardless, the pitching has been so disappointing. I think this offense, I know that has been a problem the first 4 games. I think that eventually wakes up. Their pitching has to be better. They need their guys to go into the 5th at least. They need their guys to go into the 6th, for Christ's sakes. They can't have one quality start in 9 games and expect to be over 500. The whole bullpen meltdown yesterday and fans pointing at Rocco for messing up the Duran into Jack situation, that starts because Chirs Paddack can't get an out in the 5th inning, for God's sakes. That's where that starts. So Rocco has to tax every single member in the bullpen through at least a pitch on Saturday and Sunday, and they don't have another off day until April 17th. It starts with their starting pitching not being able to go deep into games.
Which leads me to a very simple question. I asked it a week ago, and I know it's early, but in this case, I don't care. Can we please bring an end to the Chirs Paddack starting? Like to me, okay, Pablo struggles, pitches well.
You're in my end of the neighborhood here now. You're trespassing.
No,
you're trespassing in my backyard right now.
I said this last week. Like you don't have time in this rotation. In my opinion, you do not have time to say, oh, well, you know what? Give Chris 5 starts. Give Chris 6 starts. Okay. Ober again went 4, right, on Saturday.
Yeah, he went 4. He lost 8 pounds from that sickness.
Yeah,
so
and he still started. Good job, Twins.
And he said by the 4th, I was still. He didn't start feeling good until about 2 days prior to that start. So it was like a 5-day flu bug he was dealing with. But yes, he only went 4 innings.
Right, which is a ridiculous thing. Again, I'll go back to that. That starting him was irresponsible. You had choices. Like he should have just been skipped. But instead, he goes from freaking IVs in his arm to, can you start? Yeah, okay, great. But anyway, Paddock's the guy that I think is eminently replaceable. And there are too many options starting with Zebby in St. Paul to continue this. I don't understand it. You can't afford this start. And there is nothing in Chirs Paddack's resume, in my opinion, now, current day, to say, oh, give it time. Give it time. Pablo deserves tons of time. Ober deserves tons of time.
Yeah.
Joe, I think, is fine. But the fact is, this is the one guy that you need to make a decision on. And every time, because Dex, I'm with you, that bullpen meltdown was far more part and parcel to the fact that they can't get length from their starters. And Chirs Paddack, to me, is the one guy who can be replaced.
Yeah, at the risk of, I'm going to piggyback here because I brought a bunch of necessary ammunition for Chirs Paddack being my least favorite current Twins thing, and it's not him. It's you remember the old Royceism from back in the day of the old school Twins? Was it Wayne Hathaway, the old trainer / kind of clubhouse guy? It's not your fault, kid. It's the scout that signed you. And I feel like a bully talking about Chirs Paddack in this way because I actually think he could be a good reliever, but like you got to give him a chance to go throw 98 out of the bullpen.
Right.
It makes this desperate need to make Chirs Paddack a starter a thing is so bizarre. It would be one thing, like with the Vikings. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell, mostly Kwesi, I think, loves to go sifting through the former 1st and 2nd round picks. Who are the guys? The Sam Darnolds, the what's his name? The Jeff Okuda, former top 5 pick cornerback, right? These like super high end blue chip talents.
Yep.
That either got stuck with a bad organization. Maybe there were some injuries. It just like didn't work out in the first 4 or 5 years of their career. But we still think there's a really, really high-end talented player in there, and we're going to draw something out of them that nobody else was able to. Sam Darnold, case in point, right? Paddock was an 8th-round draft pick. It wasn't like he was the 3rd overall pick. Like, remember when the Twins, they've done this a couple times where they'll bring in a guy that was like a former 1st or 2nd round pick and say like, okay, we think there's something in here. The league spoke through 7 rounds. Now the baseball draft is like 40 or 50 rounds, but the league spoke when he was drafted and said, yeah, you're definitely not like a 1st or 2nd round or 3rd or 4th. You're an 8th round pick. You'll get into a system and see what happens. He comes up in 2019 pre-pandemic in the most pitcher-friendly ballpark in America and is pretty good in 2019. Since 2019, he has not had one high-end starting season. 2020, 21, he's had 2 major injuries. Here's the craziest thing. In his Twins career, Chirs Paddack has made it through 6 complete innings 4 times in 4 years. I'm not talking complete games. I'm not even talking about 8 innings or 7 innings. How many times has he completed 6 innings as a starting pitcher in his Twins career of 4 years? Only 4 times. He's only made it through 7 complete innings in his entire 7-year career 7 times. Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, in his 4 years with the Twins now, after the first 2 starts this year, he has a 5.41 earned run average, which is a full run higher than Vance Worley's career ERA, a guy that gets made fun of, the Vanimal, right? So it is, again, I feel like a bully with Chirs Paddack because it's not necessarily about him. He's just being put in these spots because the Twins keep digging themselves. Let's sign him to an extension. Like, we committed to this. It's the most stubborn thing I've seen from this front office. And there's been a lot of stubborn things.
I was going to say.
But it is like they are trying to prove that they were right. On this 4 years ago. And it has not popped yet. One more thing on this. Chirs Paddack, so last year among qualified starting pitchers, there's a million metrics I could throw out. I'll give you a basic one. Hits allowed per 9 innings. How hittable are you as a starting pitcher? And last year, there were only 2 qualified starters that allowed more than 9.5 hits per 9 innings. So, like, if you're allowing more than a hit per inning as a starting pitcher, that's really, really bad in Major League Baseball. Chirs Paddack for 5 consecutive years has allowed at least 9.5 or 10.5 hits per 9 innings. He has literally been one of the most hittable starting pitchers for 5 years running. And they continue to act like there's something there. We're going to prove that we are correct on this.
But doesn't it drive you guys nuts that there are logical replacements? That's what gets me. Like if they continue to not develop pitching, I would say you can't develop pitching. That's a problem. But it feels like that is done. Like it feels like they're developing pitchers. And what do they have to prove that Chirs Paddack is proving to hold his spot? Like there's Zebby Matthews had a phenomenal spring, had a phenomenal first start with the Saints, and looks set to go. Okay, he's set to go. He's your guy. By the way, he's your guy. Like you're going to get credit. Zebby Matthews is here and he's pitching well. That's what I don't get is it's like the Twins are fighting themselves, and doesn't make any sense, and they can't afford these short starts.
Well, their logic would be, okay, well, we don't want to just DFA Chirs Paddack, and so but then you say, well, then move him to the bullpen, and then they'd say, well, but we got the best bullpen in baseball. Which, by the way, even before the season started, can we just take a deep breath on that take for a second?
I got the transaction right now. Scott Blewett called up today.
He was.
That's
they've DFA'd 2 different pitchers in a week.
Yes, who won't be claimed, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But
that says something.
Scott Blewett's place should go to Paddock. And Zebby should take, this is a very simple switch.
Here's the thing that even though he showed a little bit of it in that playoff series against Houston at the end of the regular season in 2023, I don't think, unless his secondary pitching takes a significant jump, he doesn't have stuff that is impressive. He stays in the zone. I remember Rocco, there was a conversation I had with Rocco last summer, and he wasn't talking necessarily about Chirs Paddack individually. He was talking about the pitching staff as a whole. because the Twins pride themselves on their strike throwing abilities, which is important. You should not be limiting free passes. However, when you're so predictable that everything's in the zone and you get foul balled to death, and then eventually they just find the pitch that they're going to be able to put in play, that's what happens. You become incredibly predictable. Look at a Twins-Cleveland Guardian matchup last year, and there's 8 foul balls per player until they find a spot in the gap, right? You have to have the stuff that insinuates chase. I don't think Chirs Paddack even has that. I think he's a fun guy to talk to. He's an awesome personality, but the commitment to him, it has to stop. It has to come to an end. And they called up Zebby and Festa last year because they physically had to, because everyone else in the rotation got hurt. Now you have options. Zebby is killing it in St. Paul. He shouldn't be there for much longer. And yeah, you would probably have to move Paddock to the bullpen, but I'm not excited about Chirs Paddack also as a potential super reliever. Like, it doesn't really excite me. He doesn't have the stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's the next logical step, but to your point, it doesn't guarantee.
But then that's it.
I'm intrigued by it, but
yeah.
But then that's it. Like you take him starter, reliever, DFA. Yeah. Like at some point in time here too, you have to quit being stubborn because it's costing you currently games. And yes, I know it's 9 games, but nonetheless, it's still important.
They're treating him like organizations treated Mark Pryor, where, oh man, this dude, if he's the former 2nd overall pick, a generational pitching prospect, and if we could just get back to those first 2 years when he was healthy and even get to like 80% of it. It's an 8th round pick, man. Like, anyways, it's probably entirely too much time spent, but it's a symptom of some of the bigger things that seem to be wrong. So.
Any other least favorite things? I know, Judd, you said you had a few. Do you have other ones? I have a favorite thing we can get to.
I would like to.
I got some favorite things actually.
Yeah, I would actually like to give you at least one more of my least favorite things, and then give you the floor.
Sure.
And it's the reports that came out yesterday. R.E. Royce Lewis, who it turned out was a 3 to 6 week hamstring. But he's starting to run a little bit, but that's it. And this sounds to me like it is, and I'm not surprised, but it's far worse than was characterized out of the gate when he got hurt in the spring training game against Boston.
Yeah. So there was an update yesterday from Falvey. He's like 3 weeks into an 8-week recovery.
8 weeks, sorry.
But it's a hamstring, and it's a very significant hamstring injury when it occurred. I mean, from what I was told, they thought when the injury happened that his season could be over when it first took place in spring training. That's what I was told. Now, hamstrings are really tricky. As we know, covering the Vikings and covering any athlete, that hamstrings are a really tricky situation. He's starting, I think, to run now consecutively. He did not travel with the team to Kansas City. He's back here. He's his normal happy-go-lucky self. He's interacting with Carlos Correa post-game. He's going through pitch battles, and like he's still Royce Lewis, which is great to see considering everything he has been through. But this is a wait and see how he progresses through the rehab, because you cannot rush him. And I would, if you're giving like an over under of a date, I mean, I know people said, hey, maybe May 1st. Oh, I'd go deep into May, maybe even June, before we can put a realistic timeline on when he can come back.
I think it sounds like there's zero chance like May 1st, right?
Yeah.
Like just reading the tea leaves and what you've been saying and reporting. Man, so this is, can I use this to segue into my favorite Twins thing actually? Yeah. I know we got to shout out a couple sponsors, but we'll tie the Royce thing in here. Let me say hi to Park Dental here, and then you're going to get a dose of positive Phil on the other side of this. Park Dental has been my new dentist for like the last 6 months, 8 months. I've had 2 great visits there after being without a dentist for like a year and a half. And, you know, like the longer you go without a dentist appointment, you feel the shame, the guilt. What are they going to say to me? There was no shaming, no guilting, nothing. Just smiles, good conversation. Well, it's hard to talk when you got like a few hands in your mouth and stuff. I can't
complete 5 innings, and then they keep throwing this Chirs Paddack guy out there.
And another thing about your bullpen. For over 50 years, Park Dental's been caring for and cleaning teeth in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. And you can jump in, schedule your checkup. There's so many locations across the metro area, Western Wisconsin, likely within a short drive from your house or wherever you work. ParkDental.com. That's ParkDental.com, Dex.
Yeah, and also Underdog. It's Masters Week, baby. A lot of fun promotions happening at Underdog. You can get in on the Sunday. That's SUNDAE to Sunday Day Boost right now on Underdog. Little fun, little extra promo for Masters Week. Plus, yes, you can still make the picks on Major League Baseball, going higher or lower on hits or RBIs, total bases, first strikeout. There's a lot of different stuff you can mix and match a Twins pick with a Dustin Johnson pick, man. You can get all in the fun and the action on the Masters. Go to Underdog, promo code SKOR, SKOR, for that deposit match as well. New users sign up, promo code SKOR, SKOR, at Underdog.
Leave Gretzky's son-in-law alone, okay?
He's had a bad enough week with his father-in-law losing the all-time record.
His record's gone. Now you want to make fun of him?
So, okay, can we do favorite current Twins thing off that therapy session? While Royce Lewis is morphing into the old Byron Buxton season by season, in which if you can even get 80 games out of him, it's going to be a win. I love me some Royce Lewis, but he can't stay on the field to this point in his career. Byron Buxton is thriving in some ways. Now, like the bat hasn't fully come around yet, and maybe he's not quite the same defender he was like 5 years ago.
Running.
But he's played in all 9 games. He leads the Twins in plate appearances, and he's tied for the lead in games played. So they have not. Now they pulled him out of a game with Carlos Correa against the White Sox, was it, when they were down by a bajillion runs or whatever?
Last Monday, yep.
But he's played in every game despite the cold weather. They're not coddling him anymore. They flashed a graphic on the screen. I verified this with baseballsavant.com. He's still one of the 3 to 5 fastest players in the game. So Baseball Savant, I'm going to get in the weeds here.
Baseball.
So what they do is they track player movement, and there's so many cool things on this platform. But they categorize a competitive run. So like if you hit a ground ball to the first baseman and you're jogging it out, like that's not going to count toward your sprint speed. But a competitive run, I would assume, is like you're going first to third, or you're trying to beat out a ball, or you're stealing a base, or whatever. Like when you're really throttling it. He is in terms of your average competitive run, he is the 5th fastest player in baseball, just behind Bobby Witt Jr. and Trey Turner. So he's 31, but he's playing every day for the first 2 weeks, only a 9-game sample size. He is still one of the fastest players in the game. That run he scored, where he kind of got a bad read on, was it Saturday? He got a bad read and then kind of stopped, but then he comes around third base and scores. So it's been fun to watch Byron Buxton playing every day and still one of the fastest, most electrifying players in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I asked Rocco because he took that pitch off the hands. There was the fear. I got all the tweets like, oh my God, here we go again. He stays in the game. Swipe second base. 2 pitches later, swipe second base. And I still think that they won't be moving on every pitch, but I do think they're going to try to move guys over with stolen bases more and more. They have some guys that can do it. Buck's one of them, obviously. I know they've been a little more hesitant of him to steal, but I think you're going to see a little bit more of that. And Rocco wants this team to be more advantageous and take advantage of those situations than they did last year, where they were literally like the slowest team in Major League Baseball. So that is something I think that they'll definitely get on.
And Buck should run. He's marvelous at it. Like he should run. There's no reason not to have him run if he's going to play, right? Like that. That's the thing is he's what 31 now. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. At 31, if he's going to play, like just let the guy play. Like be smart. Don't run into fences. But if he opens it up, yes, there is probably a better chance he gets hurt. But that being said, there also is a chance he creates. That hit by pitch created. Like from that to the stolen base and the Twins, bang, right? 5 runs, 6 runs. So that to me, the secret sauce of Byron Buxton isn't just what he does statistically for himself. It's that he is an igniter. And he ignites. And that is what took place there. And if he's going to play, I say let him do that. Like, let's not be scared. Let's not be like, well, we got to do. And it looks like the Twins are now committed to exactly that, which I do like too. My favorite thing is this. Saturday, I didn't go watch the game. And when Twins TV unveiled an announcement that they were like going to have a camera on a wire, right? I'm like, okay, what's this going to do? Like, okay, it's a bell, it's a whistle, but what's it going to do? Well, on the play that you just talked about, Phil, with Buxton, what it does marvelously is it catches everything that goes on as a guy is rounding third base. In other words, we can now see when Tommy Watkins does the right thing and when he screws up. And before you laugh, this has been one of my biggest complaints is it ordinarily has been like a Zapruder, like somebody sort of caught Tommy like waving a guy or holding him, but you can't tell. Well, this camera provides a bird's eye view of that, which I think is incredibly important.
It is cool.
Which
Yeah.
I like. So I poo-pooed it and said, oh, it's just another, like it's a camera on a wire. Who cares? It is my favorite thing, and it's technically a Twins thing because it's on Twins TV.
Yep. Love it. It was an aggressive send of Buxton
It was a
because
good send.
if that
Yeah.
throw is on point. But you know what? That's the thing. Sometimes third base coaches, they project a perfect throw too often. The throw is very rarely perfect. So if you can project that it's going to be bang bang, then you can assume that sometimes the throw is going to be offline, and he didn't even have to slide. He just ran straight.
Altuve and left, like you said, is
No, it's a disaster.
It's kind of sad to watch too.
It
It's
is
like,
sad.
What is he doing out there?
I mean,
you know?
dude can still hit, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
He's miscast there.
My favorite thing is leadoff Matt Wallner.
Yeah, that's great.
Over the last 5 games, OPS over 1,000, had a 4-hit day yesterday. He can work a count, draw a walk. I understand we're not in the traditional leadoff guy that slaps the ball around and has a bunch of speed, even though I do believe Matt Wallner is a lot faster than people give him credit for. This leadoff experiment, I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of it. From Wallner, Buxton, and Correa's finally starting to put things together a little bit better at the plate over this last weekend, which was good signs too. The top of their order is starting to finally click and come around a little bit, and that starts with a productive leadoff hitter, Matt Wallner. The leadoff experiment is still working. Do not punt on that.
He's a good player.
Agreed.
He is a good player. He works counts, and yeah, he's pretty consistently the last 3 years, including this year, a 370 on base percentage exactly. 370 in 2023, 372 last year, 371 to start the season. So he's a machine. One last thing for the road on this. I mentioned the 3-6 record earlier. It is like all the negativity is justified, and everything we just complained about is justified. They're also not cooked at 3-6. There's a lot of good components here and some pieces that have not yet really joined the party yet. So we'll see if they do get a Royce Lewis or a Brooks Lee back, and their pitching has to come around more than it has. But I don't think the 3-6 start is a death knell. They've dug out from holes like this before. So I'm not waving the white flag on the season. I still think they could win a division that's pretty up in the air. But there's been some red flags. But I need to see the month of April before I completely write them off from this slow start.
I think from a fan standpoint, it's fair to say this. Given the circumstances, there's urgency.
For sure.
Like yes, it's 9 games of 162. And if this team was respected, I think it's like, okay, but bad starts happen. But I think the urgency here is the most important thing. You need to convince a fan base that you're a serious team. And since August 17th of 2024, the Twins have struggled to do that.
Yep. Yeah, they have. Yeah.
I mean, that's
by
just
the
a
way,
fact. Jack.
One last update here before we say goodbye. Brooks Lee was in a rehab game for Fort Myers yesterday, played some shortstop, went 0 for 3 at the plate. I didn't hear a timeline, but if they're just doing the 4 games in KC, I bet he's here in the weekend. I bet he's back here in Target Field for the weekend series in their 7-game homestand. So Brooks Lee, if pending no setback, should be back with the Twins, I would guess, by Friday, if not sooner.
Oh. And hey, Jose Miranda, first home run since the first week in July.
That's right, baby.
And he pimped it like
Yes,
he knew
did.
it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. That was great.
Hilarious, yeah.
Hey, be on the lookout for bonus content from the SKOR North Twins Show on extra innings. Super excited to be back here, even though the Twins are off to another poor start. I'm not going anywhere, so hit that like button, subscribe button here, supporting the SKOR North Twins Show. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your high school coach. I don't care. Tell everyone. This is the SKOR North Twins Show.